Poole, and I joined this church probably about 5 years ago. When I first moved to here to Little Rock, my sister, Jenny McMurray, is a member, and she told me I could go anywhere, but she didn't really mean it. So a couple of weeks ago, Elizabeth Small called me and asked me to speak on Stewardship Sunday. And so first I was surprised, and then I was kind of flattered, and then I was anxious. And then I felt really kind of guilty because, you know, we had heard about Stewardship Month coming, and I've just been kind of like, oh, Stewardship Month again. But God has a sense of humor, because here I am. So this morning, though, I had a really interesting thing. I had my little, all week long, I've been praying about it, and I had my little script that I was going to say. And I really felt convicted not to say that, and so I really felt convicted just to talk from my heart. So I'm going to tell you 2 stories. And they are about God making promises and keeping those, and about God answering prayers. So the first one is, my name's Dicey Gay, and I'm named for my grandmother. So when my grandmother died, I got her a wedding ring and diamond. And my parents put it up for me, and then when I went to high school and was graduated, instead of getting a class ring, they had that diamond reset for me. And I love that ring. I know it was just a ring, but it was really, really special to me. And so that ring got stolen. And I grieved about that because it was just special. And so I prayed about it. And I told God that, you know, I knew it was just a ring. But I claimed one of the Old Testament Bible verses about restoring unto me. And I prayed about it. And I didn't tell anybody that because I was embarrassed to be praying that prayer. Because it was kind of selfish. So anyway, we're bopping along. And I'd also kind of figured out, well, one day I'll walk into a pawn shop and I'll see my ring, or, you know, maybe the one who took it will be convicted and give it back to me. So I already planned how God was going to restore it. But he had other ideas. And so it was coming near Christmas time. And my mother was going to give Jenny and Kathleen a baby grand piano. And so my friend said to me, well, Gay, you must be getting something fabulous. I said, why? She goes, because your mother is always fair. And that is true. There's always fair. So I said to my daddy, I said, ooh, Daddy, I must be getting something big. And my daddy said, well, no. He goes, this year that was all we could have, so you'll have to wait your turn. Which, being the younger sister, I wanted to get that in, that I had heard that. So, anyway. Unbeknownst to me, though, my mom and dad, they were having a diamond sale at their favorite little jeweler in Jackson. So they went to Juniper and bought a diamond. And then my mama calls up Albritton's jewelry store. Now, this has been about 20 years since they had set this ring. Mr. Albritton was there then, and he goes, I'll look that up. So he found it in his files, and he called her back, and he said, well, I'm sorry about this, but the man who makes this mold has retired. So my mother tells him the whole story. So Mr. Albritton calls the man, and the man said, you know what, I gave away all my molds, but I have that one left. And he said, I'll come out of retirement and make you a mold. So he did, and on Christmas morning, I opened my present. It was just a little thing, and I cried, and my daddy cried, because my ring had been restored to me. And I know it's just a really small thing, but I think the point of it is God really cares. He cares about every part of our life, even the small things. Now, the second story I'm going to tell you is about God making promises and keeping them. And a few years ago, we were doing a study in our Sunday school class, under the Unity class. And then we were talking about God's promises, and people in our class were like, well, I don't know if anybody God's made a promise to. And I didn't speak up because God hadn't completed it yet, and I guess I just didn't have enough faith. But anyway, I always wanted to be a doctor, went to medical school, graduated, did a residency, went to Atlanta, and was in private practice. And so, once I was there, I was like, okay. I started having a big desire of my heart, and the desire of my heart was for a husband and a family. And that's what I wanted. And so I started praying about it. And I prayed about it and nothing happened. So I prayed some more. And nothing happened. So I prayed some more. So it was a Thursday, and I was meeting with a friend of mine, and we used to get together on Thursdays, and we would pray together. It was just somebody to kind of hold you accountable. And so on that Thursday, I prayed, and I said, you know what, God, I'm willing just to give that back to you. I'm willing. I'm just going to let that go. You know, that's not happening. Obviously, you've got some other plans for me. And, you know, marriage and family's not included, so I'm letting that go. Okay. So the next day, I go to work, and I'm just be walking around. And I have this patient, and she came in, and I didn't know her really well. She'd only been my patient for a couple of years. She was this beautiful woman, and she was older, and her husband was very ill, and so she stayed at home and cared for him. But she did intercessory prayer for people. And so she gave me a strange look, and then as soon as I got in the exam room, she said, Dr. Lee, I have to talk to you. And I thought she was just going to write because I was running behind. And so I'm sitting on my stool, okay, and she said, are you a Christian? And I said, well, yes I am. And she said, Dr. Lee, this has never, ever happened to me in my life. But when I saw you out in the hall, she said, God told me to tell you something. And she said, I have no idea what this means. And she said, I feel a little foolish doing it, but I want to tell you. And I was like, okay, I kind of got a little chills. And she said, God told me to tell you that He wants it back, that you have given up on something, and that something has to do with being a woman. And God wanted me to tell you He wants it back. So I cried a little bit, and I went home that night and I journaled it because I didn't want to forget it. And what I took that was that was a promise that one day He was going to give me a husband. So we're going along, you know, it's about 7 years later. My daddy was really, really sick, and he was dying. He had home hospice. And so that night, Jenny and I were there, and the next morning, the last thing he said to my mom was, I love you, and then he kind of slipped into a little coma. And so my mom went off to dress, and I kind of got in bed with him, and I said, Daddy, you know, I love you, and you've taken good care of us, and we're all going to be okay, and it's okay. You can go. I said, but Daddy, I want to tell you something. I said, when you get to heaven, I need you to tell something to God. I said, I need you to remind Him. He made me a promise. It's been 7 years. I'm waiting, and I'm tired of it. So, about 3 weeks after my father's funeral, I had the first date with my husband, thanks to our resident church matchmaker, Miss Melissa Tony. And this year we celebrated 2 years of being married. And so I say all this to say, you know, that I really just want you to know that God cares about every aspect of our life. Even the little stuff, even the unimportant stuff, and He really wants to always give us the desires of our heart. And in closing, so He had given me a verse when I was thinking about doing this, and I thought the verse was for you, but it was for me. And it was from Psalms 51, and it says, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Restore unto me the joy of my salvation, and grant me a willing spirit to sustain it. Thank you.